All right, so the first thing you need to understand when it comes to writing good and better headlines for your landing page is that I have this philosophy that the landing page keeps the promise that the ad makes, right? So we're gonna have an ad, they're gonna read a couple lines of text. Admittedly, they're probably just gonna read the first 2 lines of the text if it's a meta ad. If it's a Google ad, obviously they'll just read the H1s, H2s, H3s. They're gonna, with just the small bit of information that they consume from this, then they're gonna go off platform to a landing page, and the landing page headline needs to immediately keep the promise that the ad makes, right? And so what we wanna do is, it has to be like the same idea, the same story, the same emotions, all this stuff. There's this principle we teach in the With You program called the rule of one. We don't take any credit for it. I think the person that came up with it is it Michael Masterson? Yeah, Michael Masterson. A good ad follows like one idea, story, promise, emotion, and call to action. What you can do is you can essentially make sure that the rule of one that you're following for your ad is also being fulfilled in the headline of your landing page. Because you got to remember, like the average view duration on social media, I think it's like 1.8 seconds. It's probably fucking less now since that study since those stats were found. They don't suddenly get their attention span back once they get off the platform. They're like very quickly scanning the landing page to see if this meets their expectations or not, right? And so pretty much all they consumed was like the couple of seconds they consumed from your social media video, the first line of the primary text. That promise needs to be kept and fulfilled with the headline, right? So let's do like a bad example. So like a bad example would be someone clicks an ad for garage door installations, and then they go to a landing page and the headline is like home improvement. Like garage door installations falls under the broad category of home improvement, but this headline would perform significantly better if it was directly about garage door installations, right? We want to have as much congruity, hopefully that's right, between the content and the copy they consumed on the ad and then hitting the landing page, right? Now, there's a number of different ways that you can write headlines. I always say that advertising is an art versus a science. The art is within the laws and the policies of the advertising platform in which you're advertising on. You can do or say whatever the you want. The science is like, how do we measure that with a number? In this instance, it would typically be conversion rate. It would be like the main macro level number you would look at. There's some other stuff you could look at like session time, shit like that, but let's just look at conversion rate, right? So what we want to do is follow like a simple formula. Like now my headline formula, generally speaking, is feeling plus result, because like advertising has evolved over the last, well, forever, but like over the last century it's evolved where like really like mediocre advertisers back in like the 20s and 30s, they would just talk about the thing. Then it evolved slightly better where people would talk about the result of the thing. You could also think of result in terms of like outcome, right? Like what will I experience in the real world? So like when cars, I can't remember, I should really research this because I keep talking about it in the workshops. Car advertising used to just be about like, this car can drive this far in a single gallon of gas. It was very utilitarian. And then car advertising evolved to where it was like about status and stuff like that, right? So like the evolution that we're into when it comes to advertising now is like, what feeling or emotion will I get? And so in my headlines, I like to talk about a result or an outcome and attach that to a feeling or an emotion. The sub-headline's actually where I talk about the thing because it's the more micro detail, right? So what we want to do is we want to attach a feeling and a result. So like, let's talk about, I'll just use the online fitness example because this is the one we use in the With You program, right? So like a really mediocre headline for like online fitness would be like one-on-one coaching for guys that want to get in shape. That's obviously like a really, really boring headline. And it's just like the thing, it's just like exactly what you do, right? So then what we do is we go, well, what's a result or an outcome and a feeling or an emotion which we can get from that? Well, an outcome could be, well, let's talk about this like get in shape, right? Like, can we be more specific with that? Let's do like, I don't know, like 12 kilos in 12 weeks. That could be a good one. So there's somewhere else I'm going to go with this, but I'll stick with that. And then the feelings or emotion can be like confidence, right? So how could we remix this headline to embed like like losing 12 kilos in 12 weeks and then confidence? So we could do like, let me just do one shot off the top of my head. Also, a workflow tip for you, just in terms of like, especially when you're new to advertising or advertising, generally what happens is if you're trying to like write an ad or a headline in your head, it's very difficult and takes a long time because the words are kind of just bouncing around in your head. What I has been useful, and it's been useful for all of our With You members as well, is writing down a bad headline and then looking at the words on the page and figuring out how to do a better remix, right? So just write down your headline first, look at the words and go, oh, I could change this, right? So I'm going to do that now. So I've remixed this to a bad initial draft of how my clients are dropping 12 kilos in 12 weeks and regaining their confidence. That's good. Then what we can do is, again, like this is the first bad draft, we can go look at these words down on the page and go, how can I remix this into something better? So ones that are coming to mind for me, like 12 kilos in 12 weeks, I always like using the word speed run, right? Like a video game. So I'm going to find a way to embed the word speed run. And then another thing you can do as well. So 12 kilos in 12 weeks, that's the outcome. Let's talk about the feeling. So the feeling is confidence, right? What we can do is we look at these variables and we try and swap them out, right? Like, is there a more compelling result we can swap out? Or is there a more compelling feeling we can pop out? Another thing with with feelings as well is feelings and emotions are like certainly I don't want to underplay like how useful and effective they are in advertising. However, often they can be kind of like vague and ethereal. Like the idea of confidence, like it's more compelling when you can show like a real life scenario where that could show up in. So like, for example, like I'm at the Gold Coast right now. There's nothing gold about it. It's just raining outside. It's just full of a bunch of bimbos and coke dealers. And so the idea of like taking your shirt off at the beach with confidence or something like that, right? So what scenarios or situations will people find themselves in where they will experience this emotion, right? So like one for like fitness would be like, see your abs for the first time. That doesn't explicitly say confidence, but it evokes feelings of confidence, right? The objective of the feeling component is to evoke an emotion, not necessarily explicitly state one, right? So now my second draft is going to be how my clients are speed running fat loss. So that's my new, where's red? That's my new outcome. And then see their abs in 12 weeks. It's kind of also an outcome, but like see their abs evokes feelings of confidence. At least it does for me anyway. For someone trying to see his abs in the mirror. Actually, no, I had abs when, a lot of you don't know this, I did a bodybuilding competition in 2022. I entered with like 16 or 18 weeks notice. I was like 20% body fat. I got down from 20% to like 5 or 6% body fat in like 16 weeks. I was shredded for like 4 hours. I looked sick. And then I just like immediately put all the fat back on. People are like, how did you do that? I'm like 4 different steroids I didn't eat and I was at the gym 17 hours a week. The key lesson I want to take out here is like when your headline isn't working for you, revert back to this original like formula here. The 2 variables we have to play with are like the feelings and the results, right? And you want to think like, is there a more compelling emotion that I can swap out? Like, can I show like how this emotion will show up in real life? Is there a different way I can communicate this feeling? And likewise, is there a more compelling result / outcome? I'll give you another example, right? So this happens all the time with creatives in the With You program. They'll talk about the idea or the outcome of like build brand. However, when they run that as a headline on their landing page, it won't convert very high. And so what we want to do is we want to chase outcomes downstream. So if we build brand, we ask the question, then what? And then what? And then what? And then you chase that downstream. And then what you do is like these different and then what outcomes are like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th order consequences. And one of them will be more compelling. So if build brand isn't compelling, we'll chase it downstream, change out the outcome. If they build brand, then what happens? Then what happens? Then what happens? And then see if you can find one. And often it's always like Well, if you build brand, the business grows. And the business growing and revenue growing is a more compelling outcome for a business owner reading that than the ethereal, vague idea of building brand, right? So again, we look at these like, can I find a more compelling feeling to swap it out in the headline? Or can I find a more compelling result or outcome and swap that out in the headline? Best of luck. Oh, and if you want to apply for the With You program, there's like in the description. So yeah.